If I told you that I knew a man who would live forever, would you believe me? Or would you simply dismiss it as another example of science fiction? Hello, I'm Peter Ustinov. In the next few minutes, I'm going to take you into the world of the immediate future, a world where science fiction becomes fact, where people prepare to communicate with extraterrestrial life, where walls make music and lights appear to be alive, where human beings may one day live forever, where nothing is so unbelievable or so beautiful as the truth. Welcome to Omni, the new frontier. In a moment, we'll meet someone straight out of the future. He's part man and part machine, what science fiction writers call a cyborg. We'll also meet a rare individual, a man who has managed to mix technology with art, who can make walls sing and children laugh. Then we'll take you into a mysterious underwater world where signals passed between scientists and dolphins may eventually lead us to communicate with life on distant planets. Join us as we leave the present and move into the world of the future, the world of Omni, the new frontier. Bionics, a non-scientific term for the science of biological engineering, a science which enables us to replace vital parts of the human body with artificial components. Now, to me, the idea of a human being built entirely of replaceable parts is staggering, to put it mildly, especially if we consider the possibility of replacing a brain. But would such a creature really be a human being or simply a robot operated by an exquisitely engineered but replaceable computer? Or finally, would something in between, a cyborg, half man, half machine, be capable of rebuilding itself organ by organ until, like the hypothetical perfect machine, it lives forever under an eternal guarantee? This may look like Captain Hook's hook, but these steel fingers are connected to this man's brain. Larry Campbell, former railroad brakeman from Roy, Utah, lost his arm in an accident. His computerized bionic limb makes this new job possible.
Hey, Larry. Yeah, Bob. We got a problem down here.
But since that cold day in February 1977, Larry Campbell's world has changed forever.
Whatever you say.
His story began in a Utah freight yard when he slipped and fell between two freight cars.
When I threw myself out, something hooked me and flipped me on over, and I landed on my back. I thought I was all clear, and then a sharp pain, and I knew I was minus my arm.
Larry's left arm had been cut off near the shoulder. He was just a few heartbeats away from death. A brain in violent shock pours out a flood of its own painkillers, magic molecules that may account for the strange experience that probably saved his life.
As I was bent over holding my arm, I looked out over my right shoulder, and about 50 feet behind me, I saw myself standing there. And the body said, pick up the radio and call for help. So this I did, and then the body said, you better tie a tourniquet around your arm. You're going to lose too much blood. So immediately I grabbed my belt. And on my belt I had a key ring and 2 or 3 other things. I didn't bother to pull those off. I just grabbed the belt and ripped it off out of the loops and wrapped it around the stub about 3 times, I believe. I'm not sure. Cinched it up, ran it through the brass loop and tucked it under and slid it around again and then cinched it as tight as I could. And then the being said, he's all right now. And then I remember I came back, just coming back to the body that was laying there, it was kneeling on the ground, and I re-entered through the elbow, and I mean through the stub, and that was the first time I felt any pain.
Relax, flex, relax.
Larry was lucky enough to live near the Center for Biomedical Design at the University of Utah, Salt Lake City.
All right, now flex the biceps.
And almost up to 2.
Okay, now let's compare it with the place we had before.
4.
That looks a little better, doesn't it?
The first problem was learning to consciously control his involuntary muscle signals.
Now that's the muscle that normally raises your natural arm.
Mm-hmm.
In the same way, that muscle is going to raise the electric arm.
Okay.
Okay?
His new bionic arm will react to electric signals relayed from the brain, to nerve, to muscle, to computer. So he can bend the elbow, turn the forearm, twist the wrist, and close the fingers.
Yes, try and see if you can get them both to go to 4 or 5 together.
Okay.
A computer must analyze Larry's specific needs. Limbs are never cut off on a dotted line. Each problem is unique. Many sensors map the electric circuits to the mini-computers that control his arm.
All right, Larry, if we should have a problem with
This is the most advanced bionic limb in the world. And yet it is a crude approximation of the real thing, the exquisitely engineered biological arm with its 35 muscles, 33 bones, and an ingenious labyrinth of control nerves. In the elbow, 2 tiny computers, a direct development of space technology, control the arm movements. They translate human thought into action, giving orders to the tiny motor which powers his artificial muscles.
Back together, please.
Larry's steel fingers move with precision, in coordination with his real hand. His brain is in complete control of both.
I don't know why. When you fix something, it stays fixed. When I let the jeweler work on it, I'm back downtown the next week.
I try.
Today, Larry has put his life in order.
Thank you very much.
But there's even more to look forward to.
Try that out now. Unlock the arm.
For now, the hand is only cosmetic. Just a cover for the efficient grasp of steel fingers. For the future, however, the bioengineers plan to add a sense of touch. Fingers that will work with delicacy as well as strength. Fingers that will react to the touch of another hand.
And it's easy. Okay, so go up and down with that a few times, and you can track me pretty well.
Yeah.
Dr. Stephen Jacobson, director of the center, is the creative force behind the new arm that's given Larry Campbell a new life.
I've never noticed too many people looking very strangely at me. I mean, some do, but I accept that. Or if they're curious, they immediately come over and talk to you. And they would say, I'll bet that cost you an arm and a leg. And I say, no, just an arm. And they'd start to get embarrassed. And I say, well, don't get embarrassed. I said, that's the truth. And I said, the arm's gone, yes, but I'm still here and all right, so don't worry about it.
For the most part, we think of technology as being a serious and impersonal business. Mini-computers, microcircuitry, advanced rocketry. But technology doesn't always have to be so inflexible. Sometimes, you know, it can be fun. And in the hands of a gifted artist, technology becomes a kind of toy for the mind and a genuine source of pleasure for the human spirit.
Remo Saraceni. You want to see what is this? Number one, I think you should introduce yourself, okay? My name is
Remo Saraceni, a man who takes fun seriously.
Derek. And yours?
Stephanie.
Stephanie.
And turns technology into art.
This is a sort of toy. You want to know how this works? This works with people energy. Only if we touch it, okay? You touch one, Stephanie. And then you touch me. You touch one. And then you touch me. Stephanie, you too.
Did you pick this out of the book?
made it from scratch. Yeah, from electronics. I don't think what I'm doing here are black boxes or magic things. Number one, all my technology is visible, is see-through, because I really want to show that the computer or the radio, the transistor is here to stay. It's very friendly, was invented, wanted by us, so it's here to help us.
Saraceni calls this a rainbow tunnel, and it leads into his home, a space every bit as colorful and inventive as he is. The environment responds as if it were alive. Saraceni calls this organic technology.
I think as soon as we forget to be a child, we are in trouble. Because as soon as we forget to play, we become too serious, and life becomes a sort of punishment. Life is a gift. It's a beautiful gift.
In Saraceni's world, when people touch, they make music. The energy they exchange and the music they make brings them together in a perfect, if somewhat playful, fusion of humanity, art, and technology.
You're watching Sleepcore. Pleasant dreams.
Here's the layout.
I like it.
ProShare Video puts you in touch fast with a Pentium processor inside your PC.
Working at home must be great. Yeah.
The Intel Pentium processor.
लिली, ग्लेन, कैसे हो मेरे बच्चों? लिली, लगता है कि तुम घर जा रही हो।
जी श्रीनान, मैं घर जा रही हूँ। हमने ग्लेन के माता पिता को बताया है, और अब मैं अपने माता पिता को बताने जा रही हूँ।
I'm sure they would be delighted to learn of your engagement to such a fine man.
I'm not so sure about that. My dad still thinks I'm a little girl. Well, sometimes I think he's still stuck in the 1990s.
This morning, Lata began grinding the roots for the colors you've selected. I know a year is a long time to wait, but this will be a very special carpet.
It's going to be our belated wedding gift to each other.
I am honored that the two of you met in my shop. A handsome young doctor from Belgium and a beautiful scientist from America. You did much for our village, and I wish you a lifetime of love, my children.
Stay fast and home! Stay fast and home! Stay fast and home!
Store image. Render building. Show new plans. Show new exterior. Answer call. Hi, sweetheart.
Ian, would you mind picking me up at my office instead of at home? I've got something I need to finish up.
You want me to swing by and pick up Zach?
No, he's playing with some friends. Oh, honey, I'm so excited. It's been almost 4 months.
I'll see you in about an hour.
What do you want?
I want to show you this.
What is it?
A court order. You and your group have to leave.
Perhaps eventually. But it says here that your wrecking crews may not touch this building for 30 days. That means, Mr. Harrison Adams, that we have 30 days to present our case to the city planner's office. 30 days to save Bassett Hall. And we will save it.
I don't understand why you're so against new housing here.
We have adequate housing in this neighborhood, thank God. But what we need is a community center where... Who are you, anyhow?
I'm the deputy city planner.
System, hold heroes and horrors.
Zach, you can't quit just when they're about to bite your neck. That's worth 500 points.
I got a message. I gotta put you guys on hold. Network calls on hold. System, message please.
Zach, if this message appears, you've spent more than an hour playing a game, and you know the limits we agreed on, sweetie. So finish up right away, and if you want to stay on the system, then switch to virtual homework, okay?
Release hold on calls.
Mommy checking up on you, Zachary?
Kara, I'm gonna clobber you.
We'll see. You ready to start?
Yeah, resume heroes and horrors. Kara? Jamie? It's getting late here. I gotta do homework. Goodbye.
Mommy, Dad, I missed you guys so much. Dad.
Girl, oh.
Oh, I'm so glad you're home.
Look, I forgot. I brought you something. For your collection.
Oh,
It's a mountain climbing bear.
he's so cute.
Baggage claims this way.
Yeah, Daddy, where the phones are this way, and I told somebody I'd call as soon as I touched down. Well, you'll see. Will you hold this? Just for 1 second.
Good afternoon, Ms. McFarland. Please verify your identity by saying the random word stepladder.
Stepladder.
How may we help you?
Glenn, please.
Glenn Carson or Glenn Devereaux?
Devereaux.
He's at his parents' home and has left word to connect you there.
Who you calling?
Daddy, shh.
Thank you for using AT&T.
Bonjour, Lily. Bonjour, Madame Devereaux.
Mon chéri.
Who's this woman?
Daddy, please. There's somebody I want you to meet.
Ma chérie.
Ça fait je suis terre, mais c'est comme une année.
Monsieur McFarland, je suis Glenn Devereaux, le fiancé de votre fille.
What did he say?
J'ai dit avec beaucoup de fierté et amour, Monsieur McFarland, that I am the fiancé of your beautiful daughter. And if I may, Mr. McFarland, I would be honored to call you Dad. Dad.
She marries this boy, she's out of here. She's not living in this house anymore.
I agree with you.
You do?
Sure. When she marries Glenn, she won't be living in his house anymore.
Very funny.
Answer call.
Your consultation is ready, Anne. All connections have been made.
Sydney, do we have full enterprise set up?
Yes, Anne. Lauren Williams, the patient, and a technician are in Orem, Utah at the scanner. Lauren's specialist, Dr. Lyle, is at her office in Boston. Wu Corporation's computer-aided design center is online from Seoul, and 2 of Mr. Wu's suppliers are on standby. Mr. Wu, however, is fishing in Mongolia and has taken himself off the network. His intelligence agent, Mr. Park, will handle the call.
I'll take it in the other room.
Sydney,
Yes, Ian?
why did my wife design her computerized intelligent agent to be so young and handsome?
I am sorry, Ian. I'm not permitted to respond to that question.
That's smart, Sydney.
But I do thank you for the compliment.
Mr. Park, please display unit cost as I change design parameters on the CAD.
Only Mr. Wu can authorize cost displays with a patient online. I can, however, run retail figures.
That'll be fine. Dr. Lyle, we could do a holograph of the leg, maybe polymerize a new prosthesis socket.
And I really think we're going to have to make some changes in the prosthesis itself. It's not allowing her to drop to her knees the way a goalie needs to without experiencing quite a lot of pain.
Maybe we could leave the socket alone. Cad, show me an 18% increase in surface elasticity. Sydney, put Lauren's scan on screen. Lauren, your musculature has changed dramatically in the last 3 months.
I've been training really hard, Miss McFarland, for the Junior League Hockey Championships in Helsinki.
Helsinki? Cad, remeasure and give me figures of the present socket design executed in a less temperature-sensitive copolymer.
Hi, Lily. How are you? Oh, it's beautiful. Thanks.
Go right on, Ian. She's expecting you.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Wu has forwarded the cost figures for the changes in Lauren Williams' prosthesis. They are in line with our estimates, but he has allowed a 12% discount.
A discount?
He loves hockey,
Well, pass the savings to the Williams Insurance Company, then retransmit the video mail we got of Lauren's hockey finals in Helsinki to Wu. He should get a real kick out of that.
Hi, Mom.
Oh, hi, honey. Come on in. Are you ready to go shopping?
I'm all set.
Oh, great. Sit down. Sydney, lunchtime. Please order us 2 Cobb salads from Ronnie's.
Okay, sounds great. Also, put us online with Colton's bridal service.
Lily, please authorize your electronic mannequin.
Open clothing file, transmit mannequin Lily, white tunic and heels.
Now here's the basic dress.
Can I see what it would look like if it was just a little shorter?
Shorter?
Only in the front, Mom.
How's this?
I think maybe it's just a little too showy.
Definitely. There is one type of dress that I'd really like to see. It's a retro look. Something that they might have worn in the 1920s.
Okay, let me suggest this one.
Could I see a cloche hat with that and a veil? And show me a bouquet just for the heck of it. Do you like it?
Thank you for coming. I didn't think you would after the way I spoke to you the other day.
Don't worry about that. I didn't come with any good news, though, Ms. Ortiz. I came because the material you sent me showed a lot of caring and concern.
I want to show you something. This is an electronic classroom. When we link to the Education Center in Washington, D.C., we have in this school the very best teachers. And although they are computer-generated, they can interact with each student individually at his or her level, providing that special help exactly when and where it's needed. Not all the children in this neighborhood get that kind of attention at home. That's why it's become so very important for us to establish a community center.
Of course you didn't help her. There's nothing you could do anyhow. What's that?
It's a presentation Anita Ortiz and her group prepared.
Not interested. It's too late. And it's over. The court order expires tonight at midnight, and tomorrow Bassett Hall comes down.
Lily's wedding day. Hi.
Are you okay?
Pre-wedding jitters, I guess.
Yeah, me too.
I know. It's a lot of things, Lily. Last few days, I've sort of taken stock of who I am, and I realized that I always used to be a guy who tried to do what was best. Now I do what's safe. I was upset about your marriage because I didn't want you to take any risks.
All I know, Daddy, is that I love Glenn. But I feel strongly enough about it that I'm willing to take that chance. And I'll never regret accepting whatever risks there might have been in taking a stand.
System, give me Harrison Adams.
He is at the office, but has told the network to hold all calls. Would you care to record a message?
He's still at his office? Cancel the call.
Call canceled.
Harrison, I got 2 things to say to you. 1, what makes you think you know more about what's right for a community than the people that live in it? 2,
you are about as bullheaded an individual as I have ever met.
Bullheaded? Well, Ian, when you're right, you're right. Right, Mrs. Ortiz?
Mrs. Ortiz? What's going on?
What's going on is I read a presentation. And you were right. It is good. Now, that still doesn't make me wrong about this community center business.
But the demolition is still on hold.
I got the surprise of my life last night when Mr. Adams called and asked me to come down here.
I sent Marsh, my intelligence agent, to hit a lot of databases all over the world. I asked him to develop new recommendations for the Bassett Hall property, based on a building with 20 housing units, incorporating space for recreation, and a community center. He found 10 such buildings on elevations identical to what we've got downtown. He even got permission to access our lenders database and the tax office.
Well, what can I do to help?
Nothing. Not right now, anyhow. Because I've got more important things for us to do.
More important? Like what?
Like going home, showering, shaving, putting on some fancy duds, and showing up at your daughter's wedding.
Oh, Lily, Glenn.
Shrinan, Colleen aa gaya hai. Hum aapko dikhana chahte hain. There's something else we want to show you too, Shrinan.
Oh, Lily. He's so beautiful.
Baby's kind of cute too, don't you think?
You're watching Sleepcore, media for insomnia.
Am 15. August 1930 machte der Rohbau des Schienenzepps seine ersten Gehversuche mit Elektroantrieb, der für Rangierzwecke ohne Propellerantrieb dient. In einer reservierten Halle des RAW Leinhausen ist das bizarre Rohrgerüst entstanden, das eher einem Luftschiff als einem Eisenbahnwagen ähnelt. Schließlich ist Krokenberg alter Luftschiffbauer. Vier Wochen später ist die Propellerwelle und die Heine-Luftschraube aus Eschenholz montiert. Am 15. September 1930 wurde der Flugmotor zum ersten Mal gestartet. Die ersten Meter mit Schraubenantrieb wurden zurückgelegt. Nur 7 Tage später verlässt der Schienenzeppelin, jetzt stromlinienverkleidet, die Hallen in Leinhausen zu seiner ersten Schnellfahrt. Hierfür wurde die nicht benutzte schnurgerade Strecke Hannover-Burgwedel hergerichtet. Vor der ersten Fahrt wird der Schienenzepp, noch mit der Nase nach Burgwedel, gedreht. Kommen wir kurz zur Technik. Im Heck befindet sich ein BMW V1 Flugmotor, der bei Vollgas 1460 Umdrehungen pro Minute dreht und eine Leistung von 600 PS erreicht. Motor und Welle sind um 7 Grad nach oben geneigt, so dass der Wagen nicht nur nach vorne geschoben, sondern auch auf die Gleise gedrückt wird. Außerdem wollte man erreichen, dass die Luftsäule nach oben ausgeworfen wird, um ängstliche Gemüter auf dem Bahnsteig nicht zu schrecken. Vor der Schnellfahrt wurde noch letzte Hand angelegt. Langsam rollt der Wagen Richtung Schnellfahrstrecke. Jetzt ist es endlich soweit. Der erste Schnellfahrversuch. Jetzt kann der Flugmotor endlich ungedrosselt arbeiten. Schon nach 66 Sekunden und 985 Metern Strecke ist eine Geschwindigkeit von 100 Kilometern pro Stunde erreicht. 2 Minuten nach dem Start sind es 150 Kilometer pro Stunde. Der Propeller arbeitet jetzt in seinem günstigsten Arbeitsbereich. Doch die Geschwindigkeit nimmt weiter zu. Nach 192 Sekunden sind es 182 km/h. Obwohl der Schienenzeppelin weiter beschleunigt, muss nun abgebremst werden, um nicht über die Versuchsstrecke hinauszuschießen. Mit mehr als 2000 Metern ist der Bremsweg noch sehr lang. Sicher und ohne Probleme kommt der Schienenzeppelin wieder zum Stehen. Hier anhand dieser Grafik ist der Geschwindigkeitsverlauf gut zu erkennen. Zum Unterstellen und für kleinere Reparaturen wurde an der Versuchsstrecke eine kleine Wartungshalle errichtet.
America's first steam-electric locomotive. Without question, the most forward-looking design of motive power since the beginning of railroading. It represents the cooperative efforts of Union Pacific and General Electric engineers to do what had never been done before. They put a high-pressure condensing turbine electric power plant to work on the railroad. Now, steam and electricity work together on a new transportation job. Steam, traditionally the source of locomotive power, electricity, the smoothest, most flexible, and quietest means of transmitting that power, doing twice the work of a conventional steam locomotive per pound of fuel. Everyone who had an opportunity to see this locomotive as it was being assembled in the factory marveled at the small size of the steam turbines that furnish its power. 5,000 horsepower from 4 of these little machines. They turn more than 12,000 revolutions a minute. And besides all the power for the traction motors, they generate enough more for all the requirements of a 12-car Pullman train. Speaking of innovations, the new boiler used in this locomotive comes in for its share of glory, too. It holds only 50 gallons of water and is designed for rapid steaming. Starting cold, you can raise the steam from 0 to full pressure within 15 minutes. Firing is begun automatically at the touch of a button. And during operation, the rate of firing increases and decreases automatically with the load. One of these 2 armature direct current generators supplies the power for the driving motors. It is driven by the turbines through a gear reduction of 10 to 1. An alternating current generator is also connected to the main generator shaft, furnishing power for train air conditioning, traction motor blowers, and other accessories. The variety of the equipment involved and the diversity of the problems encountered and their solutions all have made this one of the most outstanding engineering developments in, well, a good many years. Of course, many were sure it couldn't be done. They said, what? Use the boiler feed water over and over? Condense high-pressure steam with air on a mobile unit? No, it never had been done. So General Electric tackled it. When all the equipment had been assembled in the GE works at Erie, they had a locomotive unit 90 feet and 10 inches long. This in itself is something of a record for size, and remember, we're talking now of only 1 unit. 2 of these make up the 5,000 horsepower that Union Pacific needed to climb the 2% grades in the Rockies and to attain speeds up to 125 miles an hour on the level. Behind these vanes on the sides of the locomotive are the air-cooled condensing units. The vanes open and close automatically, admitting the right amount of air to provide the proper condensing rate under all conditions. Wide variations of load, outside temperatures ranging from 40 degrees below zero to 115 above. Atmospheric conditions ranging from sea level to mountain passes 8,000 feet above. Putting the big cab onto the trucks is all in the day's work for the lifting cranes in this shop. For years, they've been helping assemble electric locomotives, some of them veritable giants of the rails, but none quite as big as the new steam electric. Finally came the great moment for the new baby to see the light of day. Its unusual length called for extraordinary care in moving it from the assembly floor to the test track. Thorough checking of the power plant and electric controls completed, the first unit is ready for the running test. But wait, an event as memorable as this in the story of American railroading calls for appropriate christening ceremonies. So, Mr. Walter Janke, assistant to the general mechanical engineer of the Union Pacific, steps up to do the honors. And unit number 1 moves away under its own power. General Electric's 4-mile test track at Erie, which is laid with heavy rail, was used, of course, for the initial proving ground. Many of the electric locomotives in operation throughout the world have been put through their paces on this track. Believe it or not, this is the engineer's view from the cab of a steam locomotive. And here on this relatively short stretch was a good place to try out the brakes, which include electric brakes in addition to air brakes. 6 of these big traction motors are used to drive each of the 2,500 horsepower units. When the engineer applies his brakes, the motors automatically become generators, sending electric current through this special water-cooled resistor, which reduces the speed of the train smoothly and easily. Following the light locomotive tests, runs were made with a train of loaded coal hoppers, having a weight equivalent to that of a heavy passenger train. Then, thanks to the cooperation of the New York Central, arrangements were made to use the main line between Erie and Dunkirk for more exacting running tests. Here, with a train of 7 cars, one 2,500 horsepower unit easily reached the 80-mile speed limit on this section of the road. People commented on the modern appearance. They marveled at the almost complete absence of smoke and steam. Remember, the steam electric's exhaust is condensed and returned to the boiler to be used again and again. It's this feature and the high efficiency of the power plant that enabled it to get 700 miles between stops for fuel and water. General Electric's sales chief, E.O. Shreve, Transportation Vice President H.L. Andrews, and many more of the company's executives came to see the test run. And President Swope was there, seen here in company with Manager Emmett of the Erie Works. The men responsible for every phase of General Electric activities, all eager to see the newest in railroad motive power, Research Director Coolidge, Vice President Allen, Vice President Barnes of the New York District. And now for a ride. Engineering Vice President Muir leads the way up into the engineer's cab. Acceleration is swift, smooth, electric. No vibration, no pounding of rail. Motive power that's easy on the road maintenance budget and that pleases passengers. Even the company's board of directors turned out to see this new king of the rails. Chairman of the board, Owen D. Young, was there, recognizing this to be a real milestone in his company's progress. And B.E. Sonny, 80 years young. C.E. Wilson, Executive Vice President, climbs aboard. And now approved by its builders, including Babcock and Wilcox and Bailey Meter, who also furnished important equipment, it's ready to go to work. So Mr. Walter Yonick, veteran locomotive engineer of the Union Pacific, takes his place at the controls, ready to put the new locomotive into revenue service. First to Chicago, and then over the line he knows so well, to Los Angeles. Just 70 years ago, the construction of the Union Pacific was completed, the final link in the first transcontinental railroad, a pioneering enterprise if there ever was one. This year, the company turns to the steam electric for handling its important passenger schedules, a distinctly new type of motive power.
You're watching Sleepcore. Sleep tight.
Why should I be on the internet? Why? Well, by the time we're in college, the internet will be our telephone, television, shopping center, and workplace.
And it's already got more stuff in it than you could possibly imagine.
In less than an hour, you can visit the planet Jupiter, take a tour of the Sistine Chapel,
do research on the rainforest,
get soccer scores for a team in Italy, chat with a friend in Australia, and I even found a recipe for cat food cupcakes. It is as much a part of the future as we are. Shouldn't everybody be on the internet? Yes!
In the last decade of the 20th century, time seemed to accelerate, and space became a virtual reality. A new generation fostered the digital revolution and formed a subculture movement called rave. An emerging underground shook apart the status quo using raves in cyberspace to engineer change. Cultural rebellion in the 1990s brought hackers and house music to the mix. Rebels became self-directed free agents plugged into the datasphere.
It was an idea that was expressing itself through the people participating in the culture. And all we had to really do is be ourselves. And, you know, to accept ourselves and to revel in ourselves, and that itself will bring about change.
I think it was Plato who said, the more I know, the more I realize I don't know. So, I mean, people that are questioning things and questioning things in an intelligent and kind of informed way are obviously going to be able to push things and make things different.
There are all sorts of hidden and wonderful remote high leverage points in the world we live in. It's sort of like being on a holodeck on Star Trek and realizing there are access panels hidden throughout this dimension if we go looking for them. You know, there are ways to hack this system.
We should all be interested in the future, because that is where we're going to spend the rest of our lives.
Computer networks. Cyberspace. Before the World Wide Web, internet travel was limited to scientists and a subculture of experimental amateurs. The concept of cyberspace came from the mind of science fiction writer William Gibson. His 1984 novel, Neuromancer, described a futuristic society where underground rebels inhabited a vast digital landscape called the Matrix. By the 1990s, Gibson's fiction had become fact. Forbidden thought and radical action were opened up to a broader base than ever before.
Well, Neuromancer was written in the wake of 1977, and I had been really increasingly uncomfortable with what had become of my counterculture. What I tried to do when I started writing science fiction, part of my agenda was to, I looked at the SF I'd grown up reading, in which there were no countercultures. We would give, okay, here's the future, and I'd say, well, where's the bohemian element? It was never there. So I decided to put that in.
I mean, I think if you look at what William Gibson sort of predicted in his books, or Marshall McLuhan before him, I mean, this sort of fragmentation, there's kind of a balkanization, if you will, of consensus reality. And I think that that's very much troubling to the powers that be, because their view of the way things are, or the way things should be, rather, are not necessarily going to be the only input that you can get.
As Marshall McLuhan once said, we're extruding our nervous system as a species. We're growing an external, communal nervous system. And given that we're doing that, we are now to some extent able to hallucinate in communally, consensually.
One of the interesting things about cyberpunk and the coming of the computer age is that the preferred vehicle for science fictional exploration is no longer the rocket ship, it's now the computer. It's no longer a tool of war that belongs to the pig. It's a tool that everybody has on their desktop.
Youngsters are venturing into new and unwholesome worlds.
The origins of personal computing date back to the 1960s at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology. By the early 1970s, Steve Wozniak and Steve Jobs, the pair who created the first Apple computer, began building devices known as blue boxes. Blue boxes were designed to break into AT&T's long-distance switching grid. Techniques for hacking into telephone systems spread. Underground hackers with pseudonyms such as Captain Crunch and Fiber Optic called it phone freaking.
If you go back to the software, hardware people in the 1970s, they were all people who were getting out of college in a time when being, countercultural, being dope smoking, being a little bit to the left liberal side of things, wanting power for the people and all that kind of stuff was ubiquitous. And when Jobs and Wozniak and Captain Crunch and all those people were creating the Apple and all the other stuff, this was, part of their motivation, and the free thinking environment helped to create the kind of consciousness that they needed to be able to come up with something as strange as thinking machines that would be available to people on a mass level.
By the late 1980s, computer hacking had grown into a covert subculture. As institutional computer networks developed, so did the private individual's abilities to tamper with them. William Gibson's vision of a cyberspace underground had become reality.
In the first explosion of this stuff, we had this wonderfully weird situation where there were these teenagers, in effect, hanging out in a deserted America. When fiber optic entered the net, entered the phone net illegally, there wasn't anybody else there. And I think that must have been the thing that was so intoxicating about it. It's like these guys broke into this infinitely large and undefended universe and more or less had free run of it.
They sort of created this cultural stream, taking that punk idea of do-it-yourself and applying it to computers and high technology. And it really influenced a younger generation of computer hackers and also people who are creative with, not just hackers, but people creative with the use of computers and design and all that, to have this idea that you can do it yourself, you can grab the stuff, use it, that you don't necessarily have to sign up with the corporate wave in order to create stuff.
Now in 1993, when the web takes off and drags the internet with it, all of a sudden the iceberg surfaces. The iceberg had been building for 30 years, but now it's immediate, it's visible, and it's interconnected with everyone across the world.
It's hilarious to think of what the sort of prankster possibilities could be, I think, on the internet. And I'm hoping that the sort of original hacker ethos of against the man, against these big corporations, of really just sort of throwing a monkey wrench into the system is going to be picked up on by a lot of people the world over.
We are making the social condition where any human being anywhere on this planet can say whatever he or she wants, and nobody can shut them up. That is an extraordinary possibility, because it means that all of those wonderful things that have been gelling in human consciousness all this time, that were shut down by the fact that they were too far out on the fringes to be incorporated into civilization, suddenly get a chance to have to be part of the mix. you've got a much more diverse ecology for thought. You know, we're going from a relative desert to a rainforest in terms of ideas. And I think that's a good thing.